You know what the problem is, man? The problem is that, like, you know how there's like people who make like $12 an hour, and then they've got like their little power center where they get to like, you know, enforce rules and feel special, and like, you know, they're like big and powerful because of that kind of thing. Ran into one of those. And, like, yeah, and that's why I was saying, like, to the lady who just came in here and like had to have a talk with me about it. When I was like making like the crappy wage like that and had like my little opportunity to like flex my nuts a little bit, I would have done it too. Like, I don't fault them for it. Like, I know what it's like to feel worthless like that, and you know, try and find your power where you can. It's like, I'm not going to go with it. That's what I'm not going to do. So here we are. But Mr. Place's search campaign. Yeah, we might have to. They're being assholes. Can we do that, Dan? I gotta deal with this piece of shit. You can call you back.
You have 45 minutes.
No, she doesn't. She's leaving. If I'm leaving, she's leaving. Do you think you're the only infusion center in America? Man, tell me to shush one more time. Go ahead and tell me to shush one more time. Hey.
These people are trying to help your voice. I've been listening to your face and mouth. I'm sorry. Rude and ignorant to your pal.
I agree.
You need to shut your mouth and breathe. Everybody knows, virtually. Shut your mouth.
Or you're going to. Okay? I got it, but
That's that line. Okay?
Tell me to shush one more time. Go ahead and tell me to shush one more time.
Or what? You are at an infusion center while your sick wife receives her chemo treatment, acting belligerent as fuck. And when everyone finally had enough of your abusive language and staff politely asked you to leave, you were going to make your sick wife with cancer not receive treatment and leave with you. To which you responded to one of the staff with a threat. Tell me to shush one more time. What's next? Are you gonna pull a gun out? Is this you? You know, when you pulled a gun on your 77-year-old neighbor after harassing him for weeks to the point that he had to buy security cameras to feel safe in his own home. What's up, Philip Joseph Russo? Found you.
This footage from a viral TikTok posted April 15th, 2022 has recently found new life that sent shockwaves throughout the Dabbleverse. But who is Philip Joseph Russo? What is his relationship with the Dabbleverse? And should we have expected this? Like the stories of some of the dabblers that have gone before him, his is a story of politics, ego, and lies. I'll be covering his journey to the Shuli network, his criminal past, and the lies he continues to push. This isn't a story of someone's fall from grace. This is a story of a man's inability to change or learn from his mistakes. This is the story of producer Joe, the shame of the Shuli network.
about this, President and new administration? Why don't you put up a website to have people vote on the internet as a referendum to see if we really want to subsidize the losers' mortgages? This is America. How many of you people want to pay for your neighbor's mortgage that has an extra bathroom and can't pay their bills? Raise their hand. How about we all? President Obama, are you listening? We're thinking of having a Chicago Tea Party in July. All you capitalists that want to show up to Lake Michigan, I'm going to start organizing.
What are you jumping in this? Remember that? Welcome back to AM Joy. That was CNBC analyst Rick Santelli in the rant heard round the world, shouting with indignation over the then Obama administration's proposal to bail out homeowners facing foreclosure after the financial meltdown. That 5-minute rant brought Santelli much more than internet fame. It was the spark that led to the creation of the Tea Party, a movement of disillusioned conservative, libertarian, and populist Americans railing against the stimulus plan to rescue the economy and demanding smaller government, lower taxes, slashed government spending, and the reduction of the national debt. Santelli's call for a new version of the Boston Tea Party that kicked off the American Revolution inspired nationwide protests just months into the new administration, featuring tea bags dangling from tricorner hats and rather conspicuous Obama rage. Even upside-down flags, a Tea Party political distress signal. The Tea Party movement, funded heavily by billionaire libertarians like the Koch brothers, helped fuel a Republican wave election in 2010, sending the likes of Rand Paul and 86 other Republicans to the House. The Tea Party freshmen even formed their own House caucus. Fast forward to this week when the Republican president announced $12 billion, with a B, in temporary relief to farmers who have been hurt by Donald Trump's trade tariffs, as well as news that the White House's mid-year budget projections foresee federal deficits surpassing $1 trillion, with a T, in 2019. So where's the Tea Party? Has anybody seen them? Tea Party? Where's the outrage? Well, sure, there have been some critics of the president, some criticism of the president among Republican lawmakers over the tariffs and the bailout. But the Tea Party, they now appear to be sipping the kofefi. Joining me now is Jennifer Rubin of The Washington Post, Ovik Roy of the Foundation for Research on Equal Opportunity, and Phil Russo, a former member of the Orlando Tea Party. And Phil, I'm going to go to you first, my friend. Phil and I have known each other for a very long time, mostly interacting over email and online, because you were in the Tea Party. And we had many debates about the Tea Party back in the day, where you would say it's not about race, it's about small government and economics. In your view, what happened to them? Because they are not available to talk about Donald Trump bailing out farmers and doing tariffs.
For most people, this is a very unfamiliar setting for Joe. In fact, I've seen some commenting that they don't believe this to be him at all. But trust me, that's him. So how did Joe get here?
First of all, I'd like to thank Lisa Ferroli and Shelley Ferguson for their hard work. I remember when Jason Hoyt and I were planning the Tax Day Tea Party down at City Hall, the volume of phone calls and emails we got was staggering. So big thank you to Shelley and Lisa. As you heard from Lloyd, I co-host a radio show with Jason Hoyt called Tea Party Patriots Live, which airs Saturdays from 4 to 6 on 660 WORL. Thanks. And we talk about political activism and what you can do to make a difference. If you own a small business or something, you want to help us out, sponsor the show or advertise, head on over to the WORL booth and see Ben. We also have copies of the book, The 5,000-Year Leap, for sale over there, so if you've never read it, want to check it out, head on over there. You know, after September 11th, we were told that the terrorists were at war with us and we just didn't know it. Well, today we find ourselves in a similar situation. Only this time, it's the federal government that's at war with us. And we're just now starting to realize it. This is a new war on terror. But we are not fighting Iran, Iraq, or North Korea. We are fighting a new axis of evil: Obama, Pelosi, and Reid.
After attaining a degree in political science, Joe would find himself an original Tea Party member and aspiring radio star. He would host 10th for Radio, the Russo and Hoyt show still active, and the Todd and Phil show, which quickly ended after Todd Long, practicing attorney at the time, found himself the centre of a Supreme Court investigation. His licence suspended after the Florida bar found that he'd used more than $120,000 in funds from a client's trust account on hotels, strip clubs and bills. Joe also acted as deputy campaign manager for Long in a run at Congress. Joe would later leave the Tea Party and is later shown on LinkedIn as secretary of the Libertarian Party of Orange County.
We really do need each and every one of you, so please, I beg you, get involved. This is not the time to be couch potato patriots. And please remember this. This does not end when we beat this healthcare bill or when we beat cap and trade. This ends when we have a government small enough to fit inside the Constitution that understands that they work for us and they're as scared of us as they should be. Thank you.
But it isn't all fancy speeches and cheering crowds. You gotta pay those bills too, don't you, Joe?
Hi, I'm Phil Russo from Tea Party Patriots Live. You can hear our radio show every Saturday from 4 to 6 on News Talk 660 WORL, on the web at TeaPartyPatriotsLive.com. Welcome to ConstitutionPatriots.com. ConstitutionPatriots.com! The Tea Party and 9/12 movement has started a constitutional renaissance. This is your chance for your organization or business to make money with your website. All you have to do is put a simple link on your webpage that'll link to ConstitutionPatriots.com. ConstitutionPatriots.com! Here, people will be able to buy the Constitution Coach Kit and the 5,000-Year Leap, one of the best-selling books of all time. All you do, put some code on your website that'll have a button. You don't have to ship anything or have any product readily available. Our partners will ship everything for you, process all the payment, and handle everything on the back end. At the end of every month, you'll receive a check for putting a button on your website. The U.S. Constitution Coach Kit is a DVD computer software that has over 60,000 documents. If people want to learn more about the Constitution and their government, this is an invaluable resource. You can access James Madison's notes on the Constitutional Convention, all of the Federalist Paper, every presidential executive order, all the president's letters, every Supreme Court decision, and classic Enlightenment philosophy that inspired our founders, John Locke's 2 treatises on government, Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan, and many more. PowerThink Publishing is also working on many other products to add to the lineup. You'll be able to add the Ronald Reagan edition of the U.S. Constitution Coach to your website. The Reagan edition will include video, text, and audio of all of President Reagan's speeches, including when he was governor of California. It would take you years to put together such a collection. Sign up and become an affiliate today. Become part of the constitutional renaissance. Put a button on your website. Anytime somebody clicks through and orders the Constitution Coach Kit or the 5,000-Year Leap, you'll get a check for 25%. 25%. 25%. 25%! It's that simple. At ConstitutionPatriots.com. ConstitutionPatriots.com!
Tariffs.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Joy. It's always great to chat with you about these things. Unfortunately, I think Americans for Prosperity and some of the other groups, which, you know, I like those groups, but when they started getting involved and money started becoming an issue with the Tea Party groups, and some of the groups got bigger than others, and the populists and the libertarians that you spoke about in the opening kind of started to drift away, and all you were left with was people who were kind of, you know, conservative or Republican Party activists anyway. It kind of, the Tea Party became the activist wing of the Republican Party, unfortunately.
But, you know, and this is a debate that, you know, like I said, we had back then, and that I kind of want to have again, Phil, because there was a sense among a lot of people who were observing those rallies where you'd see the witch doctor, President Obama depicted as a witch doctor, a lot of really racist signage. That the Tea Party was saying it was about small government, and that the funders of it, the people like the Koch brothers, cared about cutting their own taxes and not paying for social services, but that the people who were showing up really just hated Barack Obama. And so I wonder if now that you see that they are silent, that the people they elected are now quietly going along with the idea of a huge farm bailout, that maybe the people who said the Tea Party was not real, that it was really about a discomfort with the black president, maybe were right.
Well, I think, Joy, I really think it was real at first. I think the first rallies, the first 6 months to a year of it was real. I spoke to people in Orlando at the events that told me that they'd never been to a political event before. They were registered independents. They were people who had never been involved before, but you played a clip of Rick Santelli's rant that kind of motivated them, and they were angry. And those people that I spoke to, I don't think they were motivated by anything other than just anger at the idea that the government's not listening to them, and they felt powerless and just wanted to get up and scream. Now, unfortunately, I think we all know there were some racist elements on the fringe of the Tea Party, but I think that was a very small minority of the people that we saw. Certainly here in Orlando. I guess I can't speak for every city, but you did see that. But that they're kind of our cross to bear. I don't think that just because there was a few racist people that showed up and held ignorant signs, that means that the message about limiting the government so it's small enough to fit inside the Constitution is necessarily a bad message just because a few lunatics subscribe to it as well.
The point of this isn't to dig into a man's politics or critique them. I'll let him explain them himself. The point is to catalogue and analyse it as part of him as a whole. It isn't surprising that a member of a fringe political party, described by some to be an extreme right-wing group, would find himself attracted to a very obscure and niche corner of the internet. It also wouldn't surprise you to hear that a person involved in politics has a history of lies, hypocrisy and deceit. For example, a man whose party was so opposed to bailouts is quick to take to the internet to ask for them when he falls on hard times. His dabbling in politics wasn't without some success, you could argue. As seen here in 2018, he was even invited onto MSNBC with Joy Reid as a political pundit. However, his lack of experience and training clearly shows the awkward and shifty-eyed Joe unable to look at the camera throughout the interview. Clearly a man used to radio, yet hungry for the limelight and exposure. His professional experience doesn't start and end in politics and radio. It was surprising to find that he also runs his own marketing company, considering his inability to market himself to a large proportion of the Dabbleverse, and even his own neighbours.
And Phil, Ovick referenced the Orlando Tea Party where campaigns, where Republican candidates came out, and Marco Rubio didn't get a very friendly hearing. You remember that era? The big knock on him was immigration. That element, I feel like we're sort of rewriting the Tea Party as having started out one way and ended another, when maybe it was always the same way.
Joy, I really don't. I really don't think so. I really don't. I think much of what we're seeing with Trump and a lot of stuff that happened in 2012 is the exact opposite of what the Tea Party started out as, at least from my point of view. I mean, when I was getting involved and active in planning rallies, those things like a farm bailout, a $12 billion farm bailout, was exactly the kind of thing we were fighting against. And then one of the core principles of the movement was free market capitalism. So, all of this opposition to NAFTA now, I don't understand where it comes from. And even so far as building the wall that everybody seems so enamored of the idea of building a wall on the Mexican border, we talk about free market capitalism and the free movement of goods and services across international boundaries. Well, that includes the free movement of labor across international boundaries. So almost everything that we're talking about is so the opposite of what drew people like me into it.
Well, you guys should get to know Phil. Phil's a good guy. Thank you, Phil. I appreciate you being here. Good to talk to you again.
Joy.
Jennifer, thank you. Jennifer Rubin, Ovick Roy, great to see you both. Thank y'all. And still to come, we will take a look ahead to the 2018 midterm. Stay with us.
Are you looking for an affordable Florida home where you own your own lot, but you also want a community with lots of activities and lots of amenities? In this video, we will introduce you to the community of Barefoot Bay. But wait, there's much more.
Police responded to a report by Joe. He stated that whilst walking his dog, the dog urinated on the mailbox of his neighbour that lives across the road from him. Dupree, the neighbour, would approach him holding a wooden dowel in a threatening manner. The dowel was dropped, and Dupree, a 77-year-old man, pushed Russo to the floor. Both went down, and Dupree, who was on top, punched Russo on the left cheek. A neighbour separated the two. Dupree was arrested. All charges were dropped as part of a pre-trial diversion program. This is a process of case disposal where first-time offenders or those having committed low-level crime can be released with no charges on their record if they meet certain requirements. It's a great way of freeing up an already overwhelmed judicial system. Part of that requirement appears in this case to be an admission of guilt and evidence of remorse, but here's where it gets interesting. When we look at the exhibit list, we see the wooden dowel and other items we'd expect. We see declinations of prosecution from Russo and his missus, but we also see video of alleged victim brandishing pistol at defendant, video of alleged victim with hand on pistol staring at defendant's home, video of alleged victim standing in road at night shining light into defendant's home, video of alleged victim playing loud music directed at defendant's home. Doesn't really sound like the behaviour of a victim. Sounds more like a man that got beaten up by another, almost twice his age, and unable to take it, wanted revenge. One incident may be understandable, but four? That's a course of conduct if you ask me. And these are just incidents caught on camera, cameras installed apparently because Dupree feared for his safety. Were there more that we don't have evidence or record of? And the courts didn't take this lightly, obviously, as a no contact order was eventually served. But as we already know, that wasn't the end of it. It was just under 6 months later when the police were called to return to Sable Palm Lane, this time by Dupree. Dupree stated that for the last 2 weeks Russo had been standing on his driveway with a holstered firearm on his hip. I have no doubt it was his legal right to do so, but on July 25th at 09:30 hours, as Dupree left his home to pick up his mother-in-law, Russo would draw his firearm, hold it at a 45-degree angle, stand in a defensive posture, and stare at Dupree as he left his residence in fear of his life. Police would later view surveillance footage. Russo was out in his driveway with a holstered firearm on his hip. The door of Dupree was heard opening, and Russo immediately drew his weapon in what the officer would describe as a low ready position, consistent with a shooting stance. Dupree got in his vehicle and backed out. Russo stepped towards the end of his drive and toward the vehicle as it drove away. Russo's gaze fixed on Dupree. It was determined that Russo did intentionally and unlawfully threaten by word or act to do violence to the person of Mr. Dupree, a person 65 years of age or older, coupled with an apparent ability to do so, and during commission actually possessed a firearm or destructive device, as those terms are defined in section 790.001 Florida statutes, a firearm or destructive device being a deadly weapon, which created a well-founded fear in Mr. Dupree that such violence was imminent. When speaking to officers, Russo admitted removing the firearm and standing in a modified isosceles stance whilst Dupree left the residence. Russo wanted Dupree to know he would not be assaulted again. This was how he delivered the message. Russo was arrested and taken to Brevard County Jail, where he was later released on a $15,000 bond. He too later entered the pre-trial diversion program. However, his admission and remorse had a far smaller word count, and charges were dropped only after having completed 4 hours of anger management. It's my opinion that this wasn't nearly enough to make a change in Russo. The evidence of his nasty, cowardly, vindictive, bullying behaviour is overwhelming, whether it be what is seen here or in the infusion centre video. It shouldn't shock us to find that Joe is a prize cunt. He has been this whole time, right under our noses. Producer Joe would no doubt have used his radio podcasting and marketing experience as an in to the Shuli Network production team. Quickly making himself indispensable, he'd be producing for the Uncle Rico Show, Ray DeVito's Rock Bottom podcast, and most recently, That Rocks with Jim Florentine. He certainly made a name for himself as seen here in an interview on the Rock Bottom podcast, where he basically takes over. It's clear he wants to be in charge and he's calling the shots. Were he producing for anyone other than mild-mannered Ray, maybe the outcome would have been different. I'm certain if he pulled this shit mid-interview with anyone else, he quickly would have been put back in his place. Of course, with Ray DeVito's dodgy internet, he did what any professional would do in order to keep the show going. The problem is, Joe wants to be the show, and is happy to throw shit at a guest who Ray had just been building up rapport with.
What's up? What's going on? Welcome, everybody. Rock Bottom Podcast with Ray DeVito on the Shuli Network. And yeah, man, is it. We're going to have a fun, good one today. I got Aaron Emholt, host of a Steel Toe Morning Show, the Steel Toe Show. We all know who he is. All right, I'm gonna bring Aaron in. Let's get in. I just want to vent about that shit. And also, yeah, welcome Aaron Emholt. And I also want to vent this. All right, this is Shuli. Where's my clips, Joe? Suppose all the clips are fucking Uncle Rico and all this Stuttering John shit. And I had 2 specials in the last month. Where's my clips? And also the show to promote. I don't know if I'm being in Pottstown. I was invited, then uninvited, then invited, then I have no idea.
Hey, you were never uninvited to Pottstown for starters. You're going.
Right.
You've been promoting that you're going to be there. And second of all, when you do something clip worthy, I will clip it. I promise.
Wow. Nothing clip worthy in my 2 specials, but all right. Well,
this will be today, hopefully.
Yeah, this will hopefully be the day
where there's a doctor or something.
Hey, Ray.
But, yeah.
Ray, we're getting really backed up on super chats. I'm going to need you to start reading them, please.
Oh, I'm gonna. All right, you know what? I'm not gonna have Chad's raising super chat money for Aaron's abandoned children on his channel. Yeah, keep them going. If I don't read them, I'd say just put them up for because I want to get into this interview.
Love them.
Yeah, ask Aaron why he'd rather pretend he's a celebrity than take care of his kids. Okay, next super chat.
Well, Aaron, do you want to address that?
Oh, would you? Oh, well, because let's be honest, kids obnoxious.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, just the less, the better. No, of course, I'm kidding. Do I seem like the most lovable guy?
No, not even a little bit.
For not being more famous and Connor.
I lost Ray. Where'd Ray go?
Win by radio for $20. Ask Aaron about the illegal
What the
lottery
fuck?
he's won and why, if they're above board, he takes them all off YouTube. Don't drop the ball, Ray. We're all watching.
Well, oh God, now I've got freeze frame Ray again. Oh,
you made him really happy.
He really liked that one. There's something about making someone like Ray laugh that just
While we
makes
sort that out, let's get back to some super chats. Aaron, you want to read these?
Let's check them out.
That's not a super chat, but I thought it was worth putting up there.
Yes, you are. Thank you, Joe.
There you go. Yes, is what he's thinking.
Yeah. Where's the blowback from the threat to Bob? Oh yeah, let's get into that.
Actually, before we get into that, I just want to know, Ray, were we still splitting the super chats with Ray, with Aaron?
Nope, I don't want. It's all Ray's. Give it all to Ray.
Well, he doesn't get all of it. He doesn't deserve
or whatever the percentage.
Well, he'll get what he deserves out of it. Hey, can I follow up on that real quick?
Yeah.
Honestly, so Aaron, first of all, because I know what I'm about to say is going to sound very negative, but I have a lot of respect for you showing up here today and answering all the questions.
Sure.
I have no problem with you personally.
Sure.
However, the situation with Bob, I kind of did have a problem with personally because I love Bob and I'm defensive of things that I love. And
of course,
I just don't buy that a guy who talks on the radio for 7 hours a day and appears to be extremely eloquent and have a good command of the English language doesn't understand passive aggressiveness. And that was kind of your response. You were like, oh, who, me? I'm just this bumbling hick from Minnesota and I don't watch The Sopranos, so I don't know how y'all in New Jersey talk. And I just don't buy that at all. I think you knew exactly what you were saying and you were trying to threaten, like there's whatever happened to that lawsuit, by the way, that you were threatening?
Not a lawsuit. I said, I'm going to have to contact my lawyer.
And did you? And was he like, stop contacting me with bullshit?
No, not at all. No, because this you're not talking about. I wasn't talking about Bob or anyone else on that. This was a very personal matter about people who don't want to be involved. So you're actually confusing two different things that I don't think are part of the broadcast world here. Not going to do it.
One last thing I had a problem with the whole thing was when you did come on BS to apologize, you sort of gave one of those I'm sorry if you took this the wrong way kind of apologies. It wasn't what I wrote was stupid and I understand how you could have taken it the wrong way. I'm sorry. It was if you were offended by what I said kind of.
Well, I got to disagree with you there because I did say exactly that. I said, I can see where that would look fucked up. And I probably, I said on that show, did I not? I probably shouldn't have sent that. I should have called Bob. Actually, I did say on that show, I should have called Bob, or I should have just said nothing at all and just let the thing go.
And how about the text to Shuli saying you were washing your hands of Bob? What does that mean? How does somebody who's a nobody wash their hands of Bob leaving?
That was as, again, without being...
I just hope in the future, like, direct your anger in the direction it deserves to be directed.
I get it. You're defensive of Bob, and you're doing a wonderful job, and I'm
understand defensive
that.
of all the people that I love, not just Bob
that.
Levy. I'm defensive of Ray, even though I give him a hard time on the show. I'm just as defensive of him.
As am I defensive of the people I care about. I was just, you said a couple of things that weren't true. For one, I did say I shouldn't have sent the text. I can see how you could take it fucked up. I could see how it looks fucked up. That's not how I intended it. There were 3 text messages after that in which I clarified the whole thing that weren't brought up. I did feel it was a little, like, a lot of the context was fucking missing from that whole thing. But that's
more super chats.
Yeah, we got so many of them. Every single one that's paid is going to get read.
All right. Keep him coming. He's there for every miserable man. He's there for
I don't
all the
really
baby
care
land.
for Steel Toe, to be honest.
That's fine. That's no problem with that. Believe me, there's plenty who don't.
Hey, you just got to. Yeah. Can you shut off the camera, asshole up? The off camera.
They cannot do that.
No, they can't do that.
My camera on.
There you go. There's Joe. Look at that handsome guy.
Ray
Finally,
cannot shut me up. No, Ray has no control over this. Sorry about that, Nelson. I know you're around in a lot of the chats. Don't mean to disappoint you, but no, Ray cannot do anything about this.
I'm a charming bastard.
Yeah. Ray, if the network had any respect for you, you wouldn't have a producer chiming in and airing grievances during an interview. Just leave, dude.
Free of that.
Hey, Ray, we got to get back to the super chats if you don't mind.
If I could strangle the off-camera guy, his eyes would be fucking out of his face. He killed their poor and ruined the show. Who cares what you like, Joe?
Well, maybe Joe needs a
show.
show.
Joe's a good guy.
Well, no, I'll tell you what, actually, if Nelson wants to donate $20 to match this one, I will stop butting in.
This is for the producer. It's he's the only hard-hitting journalist there today. You
Put
blew
your
it,
money
Ray.
where your mouth is, buddy.
Yeah.
$20 and I shut up.
That's the name.
Team Steel Toe. I will always support Steel Toe.
That's not what this fucking interview is for.
Yeah.
It's for come on, throw the garbage.
No, I'll tell you, this just got a lot more interesting. We'll see how much that other guy doesn't like me, because this guy seems to really like me.
I'll give Joe $100 to keep asking questions. Look at Borgo. Borgo's a big.
Give Stevie some time.
Joe, you're the star. Yes, he is the star.
You know, I was joking earlier about wanting a cut of the super chats, but I'm sort of starting to get serious about that.
I actually didn't think you were kidding before.
No, I'm kidding. Shuli pays me. But on the other hand,
F Joe.
F Joe. All right, we got one more Super chats to
Well, no,
read?
it's not even a super chat. I just wanted to address it because it came up. The reason I'm acting so cunty is because this is my personality. I don't have a switch in my head that like turns me into a different person.
And he's not just content with shitting on Ray DeVito's guests. He even likes to run them off the show completely.
Joe, why do you not like Rachel Maddow? Now we're getting to the heated topics. Let's fucking do this.
I like her because she, like I said, she puts things into a historical context that no one else does in the media. She's just kind of like, she could be like she's like a scholar. She's smart. When I watch people do the news, I want them to be fucking smart. I don't want them to just be cults of personality who like just spew things.
All right. Well, we got your thing why you like her, but Joe has a strong opinion against her. What's your opinion against her, Joe?
I don't like her for the same reason I don't like any of those folks, and that's because it's not the truth. They're giving you what do they call it in wrestling, like kayfabe or whatever. They're playing characters. If you want news, go to Jimmy Dore or Breaking Points with Crystal and Sagar or things like that, where or Glenn Greenwald or people like that. If you want real news, if you want bullshit, go watch people like Rachel Maddow and Joy.
Do you watch Rachel Maddow?
No, I don't watch any of them. No,
I've been. How do you know How do you know that? Then it's not based in fact.
Because I've worked with people like her. I worked with Joy Reid, who's also on MSNBC.
I don't like Joy Reid.
Yeah, I don't like any.
In fact, I really don't like Joy Reid.
Joy Reid was a real person before she got a $30 million contract on NBC, and now all of a sudden she's a character, and they're all like that. I'm sure of it.
Well, that's kind of a blanket statement, but all right.
Yeah, I don't
make a statement based on my experience with those people.
Right.
This is what I like. People fighting, controversy. This is what it's all about. All over Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddow brings out the passion in people, and that's why I like her as a topic.
I think.
Well, this is the problem: is that now, like everything's so fractured that now everyone's in wars between like who their news source pundit is.
See, that's the thing. I'm not saying that Tucker Carlson or Fox News or cable news in general is any better than MSNBC or CNN. That's why I was saying, if you want news, go to Glenn Greenwald or Breaking Points. Those are real journalists.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
That doesn't surprise me.
I gotta check those guys out.
Surprise you
that you don't know who Crystal and Sagar from Breaking Points or Glenn Greenwald is?
Well, where would I find? I know who Glenn.
You're busy watching MSNBC. Of course, you wouldn't know who they are.
How do you know what the fuck I'm watching? That I'm watching.
You're a big
MSNBC?
Rachel Maddow fan.
Because I like Rachel Maddow. That's all I'm watching.
Well, you
just said you don't like Rachel Maddow, and then you said you don't fucking watch Rachel Maddow. So what kind of viewpoint is that?
Watching Rachel Maddow than you.
Right, I don't want to talk to you about this because this is just, you don't know what you're talking about. So just let's not get into it.
All right.
What?
No, it's all right. No, I agree with you. Stokely, $5. Thanks, because somebody needed to give Ray $5. Thanks. Yeah, my bad. I wasn't trying to. Yeah, I wasn't trying to push buttons. I was just. I don't listen to any of them. So yeah. So I definitely don't know what's going on. So I did not mean. I did not. All right, Joe. Don't put those. Joe, please don't put those comments up, man.
Bye.
Come on.
Bye, guys. I gotta go. Thanks.
All right. All right, Joe, that's my buddy. I don't. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. What a fucking asshole.
No, stop it. All right.
Hold on. I was on his. I was trying to make the same point about Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity that I was about Rachel Maddow. He's trying to pretend like I had some kind of bias against her. I have a bias against all cable news, and he got his panties all in a bunch. What a fucking plot.
All right. I love Tom McCaffrey. He's a very funny dude. I am the dipshit in this because I don't watch any news. So, all right, stop putting up the comments, Joe. We get it. Blue Mosaic, this guy, my buddy. Yeah, I don't watch any news. So I was just trying to have fun with everything. But yeah, that's. But yeah, Joe, don't quit putting up the fucking comments. Can you at least?
Sorry.
Yeah. All right. I like Tom McCaffrey, and I'm going to hang out with him
until he turned into a little cunt.
All right. I was just trying to get people to discuss stuff. But, yeah, I don't watch Rachel Maddow. So if anyone's the idiot, it's me because I don't watch any of that shit.
Another infamous producer Joe moment is when he decided to turn on the audience here. again pushing in and taking over where there is no need for him whatsoever. The difference is, in this case, it's either his ego at play, or it's just his instinct as a Shuli simp that compels him to defend the Rico boys. The irony here is that not long before this, he was just a listener. He clearly thinks he's been elevated in some way and is deserving of a platform on which to be heard. But why? What has he offered the Dabbleverse to have it return him anything? What do you, the audience, owe him? And in any case, just because someone sits behind a mic and calls themselves a broadcaster doesn't mean they have any value and are deserving of any respect. The Dabbleverse is built on a foundation of shooting down hacks, liars and shit cunts. And this fella is without doubt at least one of those.
I mean, it's always funny that the guys who hate us can only throw in $2. You notice that?
I also love, I'm so
Or-
sorry, I never do this, but I love all the fucking opinions in the chat from people. It's like your opinions and your misunderstanding and misreading of the situation is exactly why you're the fucking audience members and these guys are the broadcasters.
See what you did? You've upset my frog.
I love when Joe gets angry because it's like
No,
I
but it
imagine.
doesn't
I
matter,
imagine
like,
it's
what
like
they
when
say,
Kermit has one
you
of
know
those
what I mean?
Casey Kasem meltdowns. You know,
Yeah.
God
It's
damn
all,
it.
but it's all
Too
about like,
ponderous.
it's all about basically, you know what I mean? I have a problem with somebody, they have a problem with me, it seems. We'll handle it. You know what I mean? You don't know the facts. And I don't even think you care about the facts, so who gives a fuck, you know? But that will be dealt
Right, so
with.
sit there on your fucking internet and watch us and Shuli and Bob
Could
and
you get Miss
everybody
Piggy on
entertain
the
you.
get Miss Piggy on the phone?
It wouldn't take long for his past to catch up with him when the viral video from the Infusion Centre appeared on the Shuli's anonymous subreddit. Like anything noteworthy in the Dabbleverse, it quickly caught the attention of muttering John the Dabbleverse's ace reporter. Producer Joe already in his sights for the incidents you've just seen, complaints about his general demeanour to the audience and guests, as well as accusations that the Shuli network had gone downhill since his becoming a member. Not content to say nothing and remain hidden behind the scenes until the story blew over, Joe would publicly acknowledge all that had happened. Whether this was a decision he had made or on advice of those around him, we do not know. But it was on the BS show that he gave his own account of the arrests. The result would be revealing even more about himself and adding even more fuel to an already blazing fire. He could have told the truth, but the attempt at spin here is clear.
The week before Joe pointed the gun at the neighbor and him had an altercation. And the neighbor hit Joe with a baseball bat the week before. There you go.
God.
And was arrested. The neighbor was arrested. There you go.
He
So
doesn't
now,
look like a good guy.
right. So this is a week later. Joe is back home. And Joe, you wanna tell us what happened? 'Cause I
Yeah,
don't
so
want-
he came out of his house and started marching down his driveway towards me like he wanted to fight again. So I drew my gun, and all of a sudden he decided he had something better to do. And I never did point it at him. Like, that's, you know, I know we don't place a high degree of accuracy on Muttering Jay's reporting, but if he had just read the arrest report, it says that I kept the gun pointed at the ground the entire time.
Yeah.
And even though I was arrested for it, here in Florida, we have stand your ground laws and castle doctrine laws for situations exactly like this. And the charges were dropped, and I have my firearms back. I wasn't convicted of anything. I didn't plead to anything. The charges were dropped, and they gave me my guns back.
Many have seen and judged producer Joe's untruths for themselves already. The Shuli Network simps coming to his defence despite the lies being both blatant and obvious. Despite the constant cuntiness and attacks on the audience. But what many haven't seen or even forgotten is that within the Dabbleverse, he wasn't always Producer Joe.
You talk about Dabblers Anonymous, over 5,000. I got to give some people credit over there. King of all dabblers. King of all dabblers, $2. John's brain works as well as FDR's leg. King of all dabblers, $2. It's the Mandaloriax. King of all dabblers, $2. John's new sitcom, Too Close to Comedy. I love it. King of all dabblers, $2. I want my money back. Who made that, by the way? Let's make sure we give him some love. Who posted that? I guess
It's like King of all dabblers.
King of all dabblers, check it in. Let's go, King. Yes, King. King of all dabblers. We call them whatnot chasers. $2.
I love the chat. They are hilarious. They really are.
Yes, they are.
It shouldn't be surprising to find that Joe Russo is or was also the most arrogantly named Redditor and chatter in the Dabbleverse. But it's also here that we see more evidence of his ego and delusion at play. Under the name King of all Dabblers, Joe would create and share mostly parody film posters centered around stuttering John Melendez. He would even dabble in video editing. Unfortunately for Joe, he wouldn't go on to gain the popularity seen by the likes of Dabbling Stuttering John, Stut Joe's Fair Use Baloney Factory, or Stut Joe Depot. His Reddit days were also short-lived. In fact, most of his comments and posts are now scrubbed from Reddit after an account suspension. But what is left behind is a damning portrait of his personality. It's clear he suffers from what has come to be known as SADS, or Sock Account Derangement Syndrome, usually seen on Twitter, where paranoid users reply OK John to accounts they suspect to be John Melendez. Usually these suspect accounts are little more than sympathetic to John, in most cases harbour none of the typical John traits, but the person with SADS sees only the dabbler. Joe would take this to a new level. In an apparent dispute with the user Factia, who dared downvote his content and comment his opinion on its quality, Joe would begin a campaign of threats and harassment that would last days. Joe, fueled by the belief that he was doing battle with and exposing the dabbler himself. I can't stress how much this guy overvalues himself. He thought his content was so good that John Melendez had honed in on his mediocre memery. He clearly thought his movie poster mock-ups were so cutting that John would start a downvoting spree. But his content was top tier quality because it was featured on the Uncle Rico show. His disbelief at anyone being critical is almost laughable. He would go to the lengths of sending Factia an IP grabber, searching his Reddit history, sending DM after DM and page after page of GIFs. How dare he challenge the King of all Dabblers? Now the Dabblers had Factia's details. But was there actually a team of people working with Joe? Or was this just one unhinged troll and bully boy going after a lone critic? From what I've seen, and I've seen it all, it seems to be the latter. One message that really does stick out from the rest for me though is this. Well, how does it feel, Joe? Whilst putting this all together, I came across a big problem. The more the watchers dug, the more they found. Then the Shuli's anonymous subreddit started their digging. The Shuli network was quick to respond. As the days passed, Joe's responses and new discoveries, it was quickly hard to keep up. I was spoilt for choice on his lies and spin and information to cover here. For an even greater insight to this dabbler, I highly recommend going to Muttering J on Twitter. And there should be no doubt whatsoever that Philip Joseph Russo is a dabbler. Not the first, not the greatest, and certainly not by any means a king. And by dabbler I mean dabbler in its purest sense, not the inclusive anyone can do a podcast, nor the OG fuck with everyone kind of dabbler. His inability to handle criticism, the deranged ego, his social media activity and reaction to online criticism, falling foul of the law and getting caught up in his own lies constantly, all textbook dabbler traits. For someone that touted themselves as some kind of expert on the dabbler John Melendez, rather than learn from the mistakes of dabblers past, it seems his arrogance has him doomed to repeat them. But it shouldn't be surprising by the company he keeps. He fits perfectly within the vaingloriousness of the Uncle Rico world, an echo chamber of smugness, pomposity and vanity. Three men who overestimate their achievements and value whilst taking shots at another who has arguably achieved more than all three. As the fractures in the structure become clear to all that look, it begs to be questioned. Was the inclusion of producer Joe the start of the rot that as quickly took hold and threatens to end the network? Or was it already there and he's just another bad decision in the downward spiral of its own destruction? I often say, we are all of us, only one bad day away from being the dabbler. But not in the case of Joe. It seems Joe is a dabbler through and through. He can't escape it and he can't change. At least in the case of Chicky McDrugs Sosnowski, there was some plausible deniability to his crimes. He could easily play off the money laundering as a bad business deal, but Joe can't play this one off lightly. Repeated cases of harassment and bullying, pulling a gun on a man twice his age, proving himself again and again to be a prize cunt. These aren't the actions of a king, this is merely the life of a dabbler.
King of all dabblers, $2. King of all dabblers, $2. King of all dabblers, $2. I want my money back.